the mic
All right.
and Mayor, take it away. At your convenience, of course.
At your leisure, of course. Well, good evening, folks, and thank you for joining us for the June 1st Riverside City Council meeting. We will call the meeting to order at 6:01 PM. And I will ask the clerk, as soon as she is available, to call the roll. Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Mr. Denning,
Here.
Mrs. Franklin,
Here.
Ms. Fry, Mr. Joseph,
Here.
Ms. Lomach.
Yes.
Mr. Maxfield,
Present.
Mayor Williams.
Here.
Move to excuse.
Second.
We have a motion to excuse Councilmember Fry. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Mr. Manager, any additions or subtractions to the agenda as presented?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Move to approve.
We have a motion from the deputy mayor and a second from Mr. Joseph to approve the agenda as presented. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. If you'd all please join us at this time to rise and pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. Thank you. We have quite a few guests joining us tonight. We're very happy about that because we have a number of proclamations that we're going to be issuing. The first ones that we're going to cover are quite frankly, it's the best in class. And what we mean by that is we are taking time to honor and recognize the valedictorians from both Carroll and Stebbins and the salutatorian from Stebbins as well. Our valedictorian and salutatorian from Stebbins are with us this evening. One of our two valedictorians from Carroll is with us this evening. The other one is running in the state track championship tomorrow for the 800. So he's up in Columbus right now practicing. But Seth will be with us in 2 weeks, so he'll get his proclamation then. Enough about that. We're very happy tonight to be able to recognize these young people in our community. And it's something that is, I think, as a community, something very much worth celebrating. And a lot of times you might open up the newspaper or you look on a local news website and it might just talk about how good somebody might be at sports. And that's great. I like sports. Everybody likes sports. But what these young men have done in their time in high school, in addition to sports, as we'll hear about in a minute, is quite remarkable because they've been able to balance that with academic excellence. And as I've come to discover, just getting to know our two honorees from Stebbins and Nathan, who I've had the pleasure of knowing for several years now, they've done quite a few things outside of just sports and classroom excellence. So it's great to be able to honor those folks tonight. We have individual proclamations for all three that are present. So I will start with our Stebbins High School salutatorian, Mr. Maddox Roy. Maddox, are you here with us tonight? Come on up, Maddox. Come up to the podium. This is that 35-minute speech I asked you to have ready. So Maddox, I'm going to read out the proclamation, and then I'm going to ask you to say a few words. And I'm sure that with the resume that I was able to find of you very easily, that you won't have any trouble doing that. So in recognition of academic excellence, Mr. Maddox Roy, whereas Mr. Maddox Roy of Riverside, Ohio has completed the prescribed course of study as outlined by the Mad River Board of Education to graduate from Walter E. Stebbins High School. And whereas Mr. Roy has distinguished himself as an exemplary student, participating in VEX robotics competition, Skills USA, as well as the golf team, along with the bowling team, and I discovered also the baseball team. And whereas Mr. Roy has been named the salutatorian of the class of 2023 at Walter E. Stebbins High School. Now, therefore, I, Peter J. Williams, Mayor of the City of Riverside and the City Council, do hereby recognize Mr. Maddox Roy on the occasion of his high school graduation and wish him the best in his future. Signed under my hand and seal on this first day of June 2023. Maddox, congratulations, and we do really heartfelt thanks to you for being a leader in our community. What would you like to say to us? Or what do you have to say for yourself? What would you like to say about your time at high school being over and you're embarking on the next part of your journey? Maybe where are you headed next year?
UC.
I appreciate you guys inviting me here tonight. And next year I'm going to Ohio State to pursue engineering. But I just really think that being in high school is important and participating in a lot of community service clubs and, giving back to the community in the city of Riverside. So that helped me a lot as a person.
Well, thank you. And who do you have with you tonight along to cheer you on?
I have Mason Roy, my brother, Jeremy Roy, my dad, and Wanda Roy, my mom.
Wonderful. And you live up in Forest Ridge?
Yes.
Okay. Again, it's something that we want to certainly celebrate and honor your accomplishments, not just in the classroom, but all around. And we have the proclamation for you. So we'll get pictures of you after we do the other two and when to get all of you together and then your family. So thank you, Maddox. And then next, I will call up Mr. Carson Shade from Stebbins High School. Carson, you were valedictorian. And so you and Maddox were on 3 different teams together, sports teams. And then what else did you guys do together?
Robotics together, Field USA together, everything that we did.
Are you guys friendly? That's good. I mean, that's good. That's good. Did you guys also go to grade school? Were you at the same grade school?
Yep. First grade.
So were you Brantwood? Excellent.
They told me they've been friends since first grade, and the only difference is he made a A- that he made an A, so that's why.
That close.
But I had the privilege of observing these two when I was at the high school doing the chamber scholarships, and I observed these two in the front row. And I decided I wanted to stay. I was enjoying being back in the gym. And I watched these guys for 2 hours, not having a clue who they were. But I couldn't figure out if they were friend or foe, the way they were carrying on until the end of the whole 2 hours. And they're announced as the winners of those honors. And so they're delightful young people. And they said they've been friends since the first grade.
And Carson, is this correct? You and Maddox won the league championship in golf. The two of you were essentially the best two on the golf team this past fall. I just saw I'm telling you what I read on the internet. Yeah, exactly. On the golf course a lot, like all the doctors.
He's going to be a Bearcat.
Okay. I was going to say Ohio State's going to be a theme here in a second. All
I'll
right.
be
Well,
back
Mr. Carson Shade of Riverside, who has completed the prescribed course of study as outlined by the Mad River Board of Education to graduate from Walter E. Stebbins High School. And whereas Mr. Shade has distinguished himself as an exemplary student participating in VEX robotics competition, Skills USA, as well as the golf team, the baseball team, and the bowling team. And whereas Mr. Shade has been named valedictorian of the class of 2023 at Walter E. Stebbins High School. Now, therefore, I, Peter J. Williams, the mayor of the city of Riverside and the city council of the city of Riverside, do hereby recognize Mr. Carson Shade on the occasion of his high school graduation and wish him the very best in his future. Signed under my hand and seal on this first day of June, 2023. So congratulations, Carson. And who do you have with you this evening?
My mom, Jennifer Shade, my dad.
All right. Well, thank you two for joining us as well. And you are going to University of Cincinnati? And do you have a planned major?
Computer engineering.
Wonderful.
Surprise.
Wonderful. All right. And what? Yeah, I go to college for bowling. And what would you sum up your high school years or your years here in the Mad River schools? How would you sum those up to maybe anybody watching tonight?
Met a lot of great people in high school, and I've made a lot of good friends, and I'm just thankful for the opportunities that I've been given.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much. So have a seat and we'll honor our last student here present, former student. And then we'll do some photos. So Nathan Snizik, would you please come to the podium? Nathan comes to us from Carroll High School, and he is one of 2 valedictorians that Carroll had this year. As I mentioned, the other one is not here tonight because he has a big race tomorrow. But as we saw some themes with Carson and Maddox, there are certainly some themes with Nathan. And having myself been around Carroll for a long time, the running community in Carroll is a very wonderful community, and it's also a very strong community academically. I think something like the last 15 years or so, either a valedictorian or salutatorian from that high school has either been on the track team or cross country team. And Nathan was a member of both, in addition to a number of other things that Nathan took part in high school. And again, I tip my hand a bit because I had the privilege to know Nathan throughout high school, know his family very well. And it's great to be able to recognize him because I know he is a very hard worker, which is something that regardless of how sharp you might be taking a test, you still have to be a hard worker, and very glad that he could be here tonight. So Nathan Snizik, whereas Mr. Nathan Snizik of Springboro, Ohio, has completed the prescribed course of study as outlined by the Archdiocese of Cincinnati to graduate from Archbishop Carroll High School. And whereas Mr. Snizik has distinguished himself as an exemplary student, receiving the Academic Award for Excellence in English and earning the rank of Eagle Scout, along with participating in track and cross country. And whereas Mr. Snizik has been named valedictorian of the class of 2023 at Archbishop Carroll High School. Now, therefore, I, Peter J. Williams, Mayor of the City of Riverside, Ohio, and the Council of the City of Riverside do hereby recognize Mr. Nathan Snizik on the occasion of his high school graduation and wish him the very best in his future. Signed under my hand and seal on this first day of June 2023. So Sniz, I only told half the story there. You also were a TEDx speaker. I think were you a Pat's retreat leader at one time? So you've kind of done it all. And I think of you as the definition of a well-rounded student. So how would you maybe describe your time in high school?
I would describe my time in high school as you can do whatever you're willing to put your mind to. I came into Carroll as the only person from my grade school. I didn't know anyone, and now I leave with the community at my back. And it really is just a testament to how far both hard work and a good support system can propel you in life.
And where are you headed this fall?
Going to the Ohio State.
Ohio State. All these Vals and Sals headed to Columbus. And you have a couple majors, is that correct?
Doing politics, philosophy, and economics, and English.
Is that all?
For now.
Only 4 majors? Okay, well. As the deputy mayor had mentioned a few times when I was talking to her about doing the best in class recognition, I said, well, the 2 young men from Carroll that we're going to welcome, they're both on the cross country team and the track team. And she's like, well, yeah, they run past my house every day. So the Carroll kids do run in the neighborhood a lot to train, and part of our city has a lot of up and down hills. So it's good to build that endurance. And Nathan was also part of a cross country team that finished 2nd in the state this fall. And I'd like to think that the hills of the Wagon Wheel neighborhood and the Seville neighborhood were also a part of that 2nd place finish overall, because that endurance that you need to finish out a race, you only get that by going all the way up Glen Eagle and not slowing down. So Nathan, thank you for being here tonight. And who do you have joining us? All right. Well, thank you, families, for joining us. So what I love to do, could we get the 3 young men up here for their proclamations and to take some photos?
Cheers.
Carson.
Yeah,
we're gonna have you. So we're gonna have them stand here with the city logo in the back. Take some photos. Carson.
Well, we don't want the mics either. We're gonna go over there and tap them.
Better hurry up.
Hurry, tap, tap, tap.
Well, let's take a picture of us, those 3. I was, believe it or not, I was not involved in it.
Quickly. You sure act like one. So. Well, let's get one with you.
Which one is not about a Victoria? That's gonna be, which one did not get?
Kate, stand on the other. Kate, stand on the other side.
There you go.
Okay, so, could the Shade family come up with the color of the Shade family?
Let's get And the pictures will be out on the city website, so you can get the pictures. They do it. It's usually.
Well. Okay, well, thank you, students, and thank you, families. We certainly appreciate that, and we'll have Seth here next or 2 weeks from now. And as we tell folks that are receiving proclamations, you don't have to stay for the whole meeting, but you're more than welcome to.
I'll say one thing, as someone who was a late bloomer going back to college, I just graduated last year and I'm back in school now for my master's degree. Thing I wish I would have known when I was your age was, and I think from hearing your stories, you've already learned it. And it's about the people who you surround yourself with when you're going to college, right? My grandpa told me, show me who you hang with and I will tell you who you are. Your friends and your peers and the social influences around you play a lot more into your future than you imagine. And if you have, like you two obviously being next to each other, it's prevalent. You've excelled, you're the top 2 of your class, and you've been around each other. So you've encouraged each other to perform well and to do well in school and to do well in your extracurriculars. Keep that up. If you find people who are pulling you down the right path, you owe it to yourself, you owe it to your family and everyone around you to eliminate those people from your lives and focus on your future. What you're no longer doing is having someone that's going to force you to go to high school every single day. Now your objectives is to build your resumes, which all 3 of you have an impressive one to start with. And as you continue to build that resume, your lives are just going to only exceed in ways you probably can't imagine sitting here right today. So congratulations to the 3 of you, and I wish you the best of luck.
One last thing I'll say that I thought of on Saturday, and I almost texted Maria, Nathan's mother. I had the opportunity with my son's Boy Scout troop to go out to the VA and plant flags for Memorial Day. And we've been doing it for several years now. And as Nathan pointed out, he was the only kid from his grade school that chose Carroll for high school. And the last name Snizek is a little unique. And it was 4 years ago this past Saturday that the first time I saw Nathan Snizek in his Boy Scout with his scout troop, and they were planting flags at the Dayton VA. And I was there this past weekend with my sons. And knowing how hard Nathan worked through high school and sports in the classroom to become an Eagle Scout, in addition to other things, it was, I looked at my sons and thought, those are good. It's a good path to follow if you think about what the people around you, and to Zach's point, surrounding yourself with good people, it really makes me feel good about our community to see the type of young men we're producing. So thank you, parents. And you 3 cannot thank your parents enough. Believe me, you really can. But I'm sure that you guys already do it quite a bit. So thank you guys for being here. We certainly appreciate it. And congratulations. And when you guys are rich and famous a few years from now, we hope you won't forget the little city of Riverside.
Run for council.
Yes. Thank you,
Yeah,
guys.
keep wearing those black boots because they're cool.
They're all dressed well.
They are.
They are.
dressed well, and I love your socks. Those
Yeah.
socks are-
Nathan's always had a
But
strong
he
sock
had
game.
those cool boots on over at the high school level.
Oh, did he?
So, yeah.
Yes. All
Have a
right.
good time in college, though. It's the best time of your life.
All right. Well, thank you, families. And we have one more proclamation. This you guys free to leave. Thank you, guys. Thanks for making time. We do have one more proclamation this month, or not this month, today. And it is for a month. It is for a month. But one more proclamation this evening, I should say. And it is for LGBTQ plus Pride Month. And I want to first thank Zach for bringing the proclamation forward and making sure that we had it correctly and we had it on the first meeting of June. So I will begin. Whereas the city of Riverside is a diverse and welcoming community that values inclusivity, equality, and respect for all of its residents, regardless of their sexual orientation, gender identity, or gender expression. And whereas the LGBTQ plus community has made significant contributions to the social, cultural, economic, and political life of our city, country, and around the world. And whereas whereas LGBTQ plus individuals continue to face discrimination, prejudice, and marginalization despite the progress made in recent years. And whereas the LGBTQ plus month Pride Month, is celebrated annually across the nation in June to honor the 1969 Stonewall Uprising in Manhattan, which marked the beginning of the modern LGBTQ plus rights movement. And whereas the city of Riverside is committed to promoting understanding, acceptance, and support for all members of our community, as well as fostering an environment in which all individuals can thrive without fear of discrimination or prejudice. Now, therefore, I, Peter J. Williams, by virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor of Riverside, along with the city council, do hereby proclaim June 2023 as LGBTQ plus Pride Month in the city of Riverside, Ohio. I call upon our residents to join me in recognizing and celebrating the numerous contributions made by the LGBTQ plus community and stand against discrimination and prejudice in any form, and to work together in promoting an inclusive and equitable city for all. I are signed under my hand on this first day of June 2023, Peter J. Williams. So we have Michael Notes, who's here to accept the proclamation. Would you come to the podium? Thank you for joining us this evening. And do you know anybody here on city council?
So Michael runs an organization in Dayton called Have a Gay Day. It's a nonprofit organization. I don't want to steal your spotlight.
Yeah, this will let you kind of talk about yourself and your organization, but I'll let Zach talk.
No, just go ahead and just.
So I'll
Good.
focus on how we impact the city of Riverside.
Thank you.
That would be the most beneficial. So we are on Needmore and Dixie. We are all volunteers. We hired our first paid position 3 weeks ago. And one of the things we do is run a food pantry. We're the only food pantry in the county that delivers to the whole county. So over the last year, we've delivered to 3,000 households. Many of those households include the city. Beyond food, we give away pet care, personal care items, household cleaning items, and have annual events that just give back. So it is an honor to be here and we appreciate it.
Well, thank you for that, for those services. And I'll admit, I didn't know that was among the things that your services that were provided by your organization. We certainly thank you for that. And knowing that you're mostly volunteers, that means you guys are doing it because it's from the heart. So we certainly appreciate that. And we're very happy to be able to give this proclamation this evening. And we'll get a few photos.
That's what I'm on my list down.
The whole thing is though, is taken. She has this like kind of a hazy. I think it's from the fluorescent lights. So it don't matter.
Michael. I just want to thank you, not only for everything you do with your nonprofit, but you've been a pillar in the Dayton community for quite a while. And I'd be remiss to say that from a philanthropic standpoint and for an activism standpoint, you make the city better, not just ours, but the entire Miami Valley region with your efforts. And no one forced you to do it. You did it out of the kindness of your own heart. And there's not enough people like you in existence. So if you don't hear it enough, because I know you don't, thank you for everything that you do on a day-to-day basis. So much. Thank you.
And thank you, Chris. We have a Riverside resident here, Chris Shafala. Good to see you, Chris. You do a lot behind the scenes and we're certainly appreciative of that as well. All right. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
folks. And we will move on to the more mundane part of our agenda, but it's all good. Meeting minutes. Now I know we all diligently read the May 11th and May 18th city council minutes, and the clerk is nodding her head like you had darn well better have, and checked every comma, semicolon, and crossing of the T.
Yeah, I sent all the corrections.
All the corrections were sent by April. It was, might as well have been done by Shakespeare himself. So if there is a motion to
moved.
entertain, thank you. See, I had to get to the motion. It took me a while there. We have a motion from Mr. Maxfield and a second from Mr. Joseph mercifully to approve the meeting minutes as published. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Minutes are approved. See, that was easy. If there's anyone here who would like to speak on any agenda or non-agenda items, and a few folks have already turned in their slips, there are slips in the back of the room that you can fill out and hand to the clerk up at the front. And we will have acceptance of citizens petitions a little bit later in the meeting. So we'll move into department updates and I will turn it over to the city manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. For the Finance Department, I'll turn it over to Mr. Garrett.
Hopefully this is good. Just a few points to make tonight. This morning, we paid the mid-year interest on our road paving bonds that we issued in both 2020 and 2022. So the interest was due today, and of course, we'll pay principal in December. We also, in the past week, received our insurance settlement money for the Roar concession fire. So we've now been paid by the insurance company. Income taxes, remember last month was down a little bit because we only got one distribution of CCA. This month we got our 3, so now we're well above our planned slope. Totaling about 4.3 million at the mid-year point here. Hopefully that'll continue on our slope. We're also beginning, getting more serious into the audit season, where we had a delay because of my absence, getting our financial statements prepared. The auditor is off working on those, and shortly we'll be having our audit. I just wanted to point that out. And otherwise, we're just trying to keep up with all of the record keeping.
Any questions for Mr. Garrett? All right, hearing none, turn it back over to the city manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll punt on administration and take care of that with my report, and I'll turn it over to Ms. Holt in Community Development.
Good evening, everyone. I'll keep it short and sweet. There will be no BZA meeting this month. I do have an update on the chicken regulations that you asked about earlier this year. Our community development technician Lane has been looking through deed restrictions, working with other communities, talking with them about what they do for urban agriculture chickens. And he's putting together a presentation to take to Planning Commission either this month or next. He's also working with Tom Hartner at Miami Valley Regional Planning Commission to map what deed restrictions say no chickens, which say they do. And so we'll have a map in that presentation as well. That's where we are with that. And once Planning Commission, as you know, votes on that or comes to some recommendation, we'll bring it forward to you. Lori Minnick worked really hard on a grant. This past year, we were awarded a planning project grant from Jobs Ohio, excuse me. And on June 13, she was invited to the DC Lido meeting to kind of present how she put that package together as an example to other communities. So really excited that the work that she's doing and is an example to other communities. So that's a really good plus, that the work that our community and our economic development specialist is a shining star for other communities to look at. Finally, kind of PSA notice to our residents out there. It is grass cutting season, so please cut your grass. If you do not want to see our code enforcement officer drive by or have that little green sticker on your property, please cut your grass. That's all I have.
Any questions for Ms. Holtz? All right, thank you for the update. Back to the city manager.
And just four quick things related to administration. So we have made an offer to a finalist for the HR manager position. I expect that person to start toward the end of this month. So we are looking forward to that and kind of filling that gap in the organization and all the opportunities that that will bring as well. Similarly, our consultant is pulling together all the background information they need for the fire chief recruitment process. The last step in that is for us to gather some high resolution pictures and other things that they can use for their brochure. So we're in the process of doing that. I want to give a shout out, a thank you to Jermaine Ford for their generous donation of a truck for the use of the school resource officer. We had a great photo op with them this morning to take some pictures and acknowledge their generosity as well. I know Officer Toscani will certainly put that vehicle to good use. And it stands out, I think, in a very good way as far as messaging to that function and our ability to provide that function to students in the district. And the last thing is that there was a short article in the paper, and just another friendly reminder to folks, motorists on the road, that with the 35 bridge project at Woodman, the westbound ramp from 35 onto Woodman is expected to be closed basically through the summer. Folks can expect, obviously, as weather permitting and everything else, that there may be delays in that process, just like any other construction project. So again, just a general reminder to please be patient in that area. If you can avoid the area, it might be a good idea, particularly during busy rush hour periods. But work is expected to continue at that interchange through 2024. So we're in it for the long haul, but we'll have a much better intersection when it's finished. So again, just a friendly reminder.
Here, here.
And we'll all enjoy it when it's done. That's
It's
all I
only
have.
taken 16 years.
I know it, right? One day at a time.
All right, any questions for the city manager?
No, I think we, hats off to Jermaine Ford, obviously, but also I think to Officer Toscani to pursue many options in trying to find the automobile or the truck. I love trucks, so the truck is really cool. And I think it's relatable to the young people that he will be interfacing with because of how he's decided to design the truck with the camouflage. But as he reminded me this morning, he did remember the blue, which I do appreciate. But yeah, I think hats off to him because I think he's the one who actually made that happen.
All right. So we will move along in our agenda onto public comment for agenda items. And we have two folks with us who wish to speak tonight on agenda items. So I would first welcome to the podium Glenn Holt Jr. from 5817 Bayside. Mr. Holt, thank you for joining us this evening. If you could, please read your full name and address for the record. And again, we thank you for being with us tonight, and please keep your comments to 3 minutes.
Okay, my name is Glenn Holt Jr. and I live at 5817 Bayside Drive, Riverside, Ohio, 45431.
Welcome.
Welcome. The reason I'm here is for the rezoning of the two parcels at 637 Bluebell Road. First, I want to thank Mrs. Holt and her team. They were absolutely fantastic during the pre-meeting and helping us actually get prepared for this moment. So I really appreciate her time, as well as Mrs. Denning and the Planning Commission for listening to us. Really appreciate that too. Reason I'm here is 637 Bluebell Road is my mom and dad's address, which sit back here. And I want to set the record straight. We started this family business back in 1998, but we were a general partnership. We weren't an LLC. So I think that's where the mix-up was. That because we started our LLC in 2015. So we created our employer identification number, which I have that with me, on December 24th of 97. We created our trademark with the Secretary of State on February 2nd of 1998. which I have that as well. And we created our logo design on March 25th in 1998. So from that time until 2015, it was basically 4 owners, me, my dad, and two other guys, about 18 years. And all we had was a 28-foot Roberts truck and a 16-foot box truck that we parked at my dad's house. The other owner, Ronnie, who could not be here, he basically did the administrative, and I think he lived in Huber Heights at the time. So while he was doing that, we needed a place to park the truck, so we parked it at my dad's residence. And that's all we had, was those 2 trucks until 2015. Now, we didn't know whether the business was going to get any bigger or not, but in 2014, Kendall Cundiff, who owned the tree service company in the Platte, came to us and basically told my dad, he said, the Lord spoke to me and told me to give you these 2 lots. So he gave us the 2 lots. And I didn't know what we were going to need the 2 lots for. We only had 2 trucks. But he gave us those 2 lots, and at 2015 and 2018, we ended up buying 3 more 16-foot box trucks. So we cleared out the front part of that, those 2 lots in order to park those trucks. And from 97 until this year, we never really had a problem, until we got hit with zoning violations. And at the time, when the city of Riverside became a legit city in 1995, we weren't really thinking of the ramifications of violating zoning codes, because we knew there was already businesses within the Platte, in the Byesville Platte. I mean, there was a Laves Radiator on 1009 Planters. There was a SS Enterprises on 4545 Byesville. There's a mechanic shop on 1005 Kim Bolton Avenue. And then some sort of auto body shop with a huge hoist mechanism in front at 4404 Darwin Drive. So with seeing that, we was like, okay, guess this is okay. So we didn't really have any issues until now. So I'm basically, the council is our last line of defense for us to rezone that for just our trucks to park there. We don't store any crates. We don't store any furniture. There's no furniture in the trucks.
Mr. Holt, I apologize for cutting you off, but 3 minutes expired and we have to limit all public comment to that. But we certainly appreciate you giving us background and perspective on that. So thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you.
And we have a resident who'd like to speak on a agenda item. We have John Ziegler from 4238 Blue Rock Road. Mr. Ziegler, would you please come to the podium? And please state your full name and address for the record. And we thank you for being here with us tonight. And as was the case with Mr. Holt, you have 3 minutes to speak, and we appreciate your time.
Thank you. My name is John Ziegler. My address is 4238 Blue Rock Road. I have a question about the new zoning map. I'm not sure. I tried to find it in the packet, but I couldn't navigate through the internet to find out what that was. I didn't know when they're going to be coming up with the map that shows all the PUD districts or the PUD. And I was trying to find that out, and I couldn't find that. I was worried about if they were going to put a PUD in front of the Air Force Museum and other properties, because I think, a mixed, I really thought that it would be a good place more for restaurants and stuff like the members at the Air Force Museum liked. That's what I wanted to find out about the map.
Well, I'm sure that whether it's Ms. Holt or Mr. Roush, they could provide you with the zoning map. And if you had a particular parcel, they could give you the current Riverside zoning for that parcel. That could easily be attained if that was your question.
Yeah, I heard there was going to be a map made. I just haven't seen it yet. So, and I couldn't find it. I apologize.
Well, I know that, and I would ask Ms. Holt to, as Josh has reeled me in, I know that there is a copy. Well, there's a copy in the lobby, but there's also the website. The city website has our zoning map with all of our zoning districts. And if you had a specific address or parcel, I know that Naya could give you the specific zoning for that without any issue.
We'll go ahead and get you the link.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. So we'll move on to new business, of which we have 2 ordinances and 2 resolutions. The first ordinance would be the first reading of a proposed ordinance change, a proposed boundary change for the zoning map, which was alluded to in one of the public comments. So ordinance 23-0-829 would be approving or not approving or the proposal made that came before Planning Commission a few weeks ago for the properties at 637 Bluebell, changing them from residential R3 to I1 light industrial. And Mr. City Manager, I'd ask you to just, if I didn't cover anything, if there's anything else I did need to cover before we take action and talk about this a little bit.
Sure, just a point of, I guess a point of order or clarification, since it's been a little bit since we've had a rezoning come before council. So the ordinance that has been drafted and is in your packet is the ordinance to effect the rezoning, to go ahead and rezone it to I. We write it that way in case that's the direction council wants to move in this evening. Having said that, it's both the recommendation of the staff and the planning commission that you deny this rezoning, meaning if you want to follow through on that recommendation, you would need to vote against this ordinance. And we're happy to provide any other context or answer any questions that you have about the case or the rezoning.
Move to approve.
Second.
Second.
Restate what you just said.
Yeah, restate what you just said.
So the ordinance is the ordinance is to approve the change in the zoning, to the zoning map, meaning it would go from residential to industrial. Staff and the planning commission recommend against that. So in order to maintain the current zoning, you have to vote this ordinance down. Because if you vote for this ordinance, the zoning would change.
And that's the property that.
I
read it.
I heard it the other way and I.
Yeah.
Okay, no, sorry about that.
Better to explain what a yay vote would mean and what a nay vote would mean.
Yeah.
That's-
So yeah,
Yes.
and fair enough. So a yay vote rezones it, a nay vote leaves it alone. Okay.
And it's the
Fewer
property.
words.
Thank you,
that-
Madam Clerk.
Fewer words.
And it's
Property that he was
he was just-
addressing.
Mr.
Yes.
Bolt was addressing.
A nay vote. If you wanted to proceed to a second reading. then
You'd
you
say
vote.
yes.
Correct, yes.
Yes,
Do not want it to
Yeah.
proceed to second reading.
yes,
You vote no.
correct.
Okay,
He said it.
No, you're fine. Yeah. You heard that.
I gotta read all this first. The city charter allows for the first reading of an ordinance to be read by title only unless a council member requests otherwise. Madam Clerk, could you please read this ordinance by title only?
Ordinance 23-0829, an ordinance approving a change in the district boundaries as shown on the zoning map of the city of Riverside, Ohio, for the property located at 637 Bluebell Road, parcel ID number I390011700049 and 0050, from R3 medium residential density residential district to I1 light industrial district.
Is there any further discussion from members of council?
I have to talk. We are trying very hard not to have spot zoning and to go from R3 to I1. And I know you're only parking trucks there. Unfortunately,
Somebody else. could do
if
something else.
somebody buys that property from you, they can do anything that is under the I1 umbrella. In the deed, yeah,
It's not enforceable by us.
And that's not enforceable by us. What would have to happen if that happened, even if you put that in your deed restriction, is that it would have to be a civil suit against whoever bought the property, and we would have to go through the court system. And unfortunately for us, we would probably lose because it is zoned I1. Okay, and I appreciate everything you've done and everything that's been that you've been doing, but I mean, I'm not going to be able to vote for this.
Mr. Holt, I apologize, but we can't have back and forth because it's not part of the minutes. And I
No,
don't say that to be rude at all, but
We can have a discussion afterwards if you want to, but I just wanted you to understand why I'm going to vote the way I'm going to vote. And you just don't understand what happened. So I'm just trying to explain it a little bit.
Right. Any further discussion from members of council before I call the question? Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Mr. Denning,
No.
Mr. Joseph,
No.
Mrs. Franklin,
No.
Ms. Lomach,
No.
Mr. Maxfield,
No.
Mayor Williams.
No. The second ordinance tonight is for a supplemental appropriations, and Mr. Manager, is there anything you need to brief us on before we take the next steps on this one?
No, this is mostly housekeeping items. It's a mid-year adjustment that just basically gives us a little bit of extra appropriation to move forward with a couple of little projects this year and make some corrections to prior supplementals that we did a couple months ago.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion from the deputy mayor and a second from Mr. Denning. The city charter allows for the first reading of an ordinance to be read by title only unless a council member requests otherwise. Madam Clerk, could you please read this ordinance by title only?
Ordinance 230830, an ordinance to make supplemental appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures of the city of Riverside, state of Ohio, for the period of January 1 through December 31st, 2023.
Are there any further discussion of members of council? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Ms. Lomach,
Yes.
Mr. Denning,
Yes.
Mrs. Franklin.
Yes.
Mr. Joseph,
Yes.
Mr. Maxfield,
Yes.
Mayor Williams.
Yes. Motion carries. And we have two resolutions in new business. The first one, 23-R-2847. Mr. Manager, this looks to be something that you're involved with.
Well, it's more Miss Bartlett, actually. It's both of these are housekeeping resolutions related to paint striping and traffic signal maintenance, but I'll let Miss Bartlett say a few words about each one.
Basically, we're going to be painting Airway this year, Valley, and Woodman Harshman. Woodman Harshman and Valley, because we're crack sealing. We did all of our other striping last year. So we bid as a conglomerate with Miami Valley Communications Council. And so the bids came in and let me think. First, I believe it's First Star received the bid. And that's who we're going with.
So are we using the better paint that'll last longer? Or
It's a
the?
standard ODOT
Okay.
item. Yeah, we don't get a choice.
All right.
This isn't a part of the annual council member road repaving for when we get our streets repaved every year.
I only wish that such a program existed, right?
I don't.
Well, I just saw city manager and then page striping, and I thought, well, Josh must be out there.
No, unfortunately, my street has too many alligator cracks in order to stripe, so.
You could
it's
paint
the
some
things
fire
we all live
hydrants.
with, Right?
We can go out and paint fire hydrants.
I
so.
think yours are crocodiles because if somebody falls in them, they're gonna eat you.
All right, if there's no further questions, do we have a motion and a
Move
second?
to approve.
Second.
We have a motion for Mr. Dang and a second for Mr. Joseph to approve resolution 23-R-2847. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. And the final resolution, Mr. Manager.
Ms. Bartlett, anything on traffic signal maintenance?
This is basically a 3-year renewal of our former 3-year contract that we had with Security Fence. We had 2 bidders this year. Security was the low bid again. So it's a continuation of them doing our traffic signal maintenance.
And we should add too that we feel like we've gotten really good service from them. They've been really responsive. We had a big outage at Woodman and Eastman, was it, earlier this year? And they were really on the spot with a lot of that stuff. So we're very satisfied with their services. So.
Move to approve.
Second. All those in favor of resolution 23-R-2848 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Was there any discussion? They were talking about it a minute ago. Any against?
Oh, my traffic lights.
The yays carry. I got interrupted.
Go ahead and make a note for the annual review.
I'm gonna start using this. Very nice. Zach got this one. It's very
I
nice.
just one of those and that, what?
Quiet. Moving on. Ms. Franklin, We're on to public comment for non-agenda items. Madam Clerk, has anything been turned in
No.
on non-agenda items? Moving right along, the council member comments. The best part of our meeting, and I will start with Ms. Franklin this time. Put her on the spot. You had a lot to say a minute ago.
That was some random stuff there. I would just like to add, the schools are all getting out in the residential areas. I've seen more kids during the day and stuff like that. So just be aware that they're out there and, take your time through the residential areas. Also with the heat we're going to have this week, if you have any elderly neighbors and stuff, just kind of keep an eye on them. We're not used to having 90-degree days for, a week straight in the beginning of the summer. So just, kind of, watch out for them and, the people in your neighborhood, take care of your community. That's all I have.
All right, Mr. Joseph.
Yeah. Happy Pride. I appreciate the city for making the proclamation. If you want to hear my comments last year, why I was crying and moped on about it, there's YouTube recordings. The one thing I'll say this year is there is something to celebrate. And I mentioned this before, and it's the fact that we can donate blood. I'm able to do that this year. I'm scheduled later this month. I forget the date. Brenda, the 24th of June for when the blood drive.
Whatever that Monday is.
For the blood drive. It's the first time that I've been able to donate in 8 years. So I'm really, really excited that I'll be able to do that. A lot of what you're going to see over the next 30 days through the news or on your Facebook media feed is a lot of nonsense, right? People aren't like the stuff that you hear about minor attracted people as being a part of the community or parents taking their children to provocative events. That doesn't happen in real life. I mean, it might happen in very, very small cases, right? So what I encourage people to do is if you don't know what the history and why Pride is celebrated, what the meaning is behind it, just Google it, go watch a YouTube video and become informed. There's a reason why cities across the world still celebrate. And I'll sum it up with the fact that we're one of the few countries where people in the LGBTQ plus community can feel safe and not be arrested or persecuted or even killed by their government for being the way that they are. So until that fact is no longer true, there'll be a reason for why this month exists. That's all I have to say.
Well, thank you, Zach. And I would just want to say thank you for bringing that to the forefront and something that we as a city council can recognize. And I think the message that I take away from things like that are that many people are part of a marginalized group, and at many different points in our country's history, different folks have been parts of marginalized groups, and maybe they were able to move out of that status. But oftentimes they're replaced by another group that gets stuck into that marginalized category. And been able to, on council member comments in the past, talk about the different ethnic diversity that Riverside has. It's very authentic. And many times people came to this country, a lot of times close to right, Pat, because whether it was World War II, whether it was the Cuban Revolution, whether it was unrest in Central America, whether it was turmoil in Eastern Europe, et cetera, that they were able to find a home. And many times Riverside, the city itself, was where they found a home and started families and found community in our schools and our churches. They started restaurants, and they just, as opposed to being that fill in the blank family, that Dominican family, that Vietnamese family, they just became that family. And that's what I really do love about our community. And I think that's the best of us. I think America has a lot to be proud of, a lot of way to go still. I wouldn't be so blind as to say that we don't have a ways to go at times. But I will say that it is great to be a part of a community where we can welcome everyone and everyone's rights are protected, not because of a special category, but because they're people. And I certainly am appreciative that we can talk about that. And I just, thanks, Zach. Appreciate that. Deputy Mayor.
Yes, I had MVRPC meeting this morning and they did a really nice presentation on the assistance that MVRPC can give to planning. And I know that our city's already involved them in our planning efforts, but they want to let you know that it's out there and it was a really, really good meeting. And I love the truck event this morning. It was awesome. I did want to ask Kathy, I'm sorry, Ms. Bartlett, can you give us an update on the garden issue at Schellenberger? What you can tell us about what happened? People are concerned about.
We're looking to get estimates of somebody to totally reconstruct the damage and this, and we're getting estimates on what a sign replacement would be.
Okay. To put it back just the way it was.
As close as we can.
Well, and it's unfortunate because they had just put the flowers in and then this minivan took them all out. But it's gonna be fixed and I've assured everybody because the thing that's
Better than
concerned.
that, than somebody, than a human.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And the other thing is there's lots of interaction on the social media about speeding. And I'm sure we have all observed it throughout the city, in our neighborhoods, on Woodman Drive. It's just insane how people are driving in this time. I don't know if they're anxious or upset or what they're doing, but going 45 and 50 in a neighborhood where it's 25 miles an hour is just crazy. And like Councilwoman said, children are out. So please, please, and people are wanting speed bumps. They're wanting, they don't understand. You can't just go throughout a speed bump, but speeding is an issue nationwide. And please, please watch your speed. And our Riverside folks, I hope they're out there just catching them. Thank you.
Mr. Denning. And then we will wrap up with Mr. Maxfield.
The only thing I would say is weather is nice out as well. Obviously, look out for children as school's out, but also beware of motorcycles and things like that. If you are cutting the grass, please do not have your grass clippings in the road because that's very dangerous for motorcycles. I believe it's illegal. So just be careful, be cognizant of your surroundings because as you've seen, there's been several motorcycle wrecks in the last few weeks. So that's all I got.
Still mow your grass because it's a lot cheaper than if we have to do it for you.
Right now.
Yeah, wait till it's either first thing in the morning or later at night. But I don't want Nye coming to my house with that green
Well,
sticker.
it's better to have the longer.
Okay. All right.
Also getting gas
Second.
after.
Motion to adjourn from Mr. Denning, second from April, third from Zach, fourth from everyone else. Well, we have a motion to adjourn at 6:59 PM. All those in favor signify by saying aye.